The honourable member for Murchison.
Thank you, Mr President. Today I would like to speak about what I believe is the unfortunate closure of a long-standing institution in the Circular Head community, the Circular Head Chronicle. After 118 years, this treasured local newspaper printed its final edition on Wednesday 30th October, marking the end of an era for Circular Head and the surrounding communities. Founded in 1906 by William Wilson Young, the Chronicle has been a constant presence, documenting our history, sharing the news and connecting our people through generations. It's been there to cover everything from local council updates to sports, business news, personal milestones and other issues that matter to this community. I'm sure many Circular Head residents will share fond memories of lining up impatiently on a Wednesday afternoon, small change in hand, to buy the latest edition hot off the press. Each edition brought members of the community updates on local events, profiles on familiar faces and a snapshot of life in Stanley, Smithton and beyond, from Marrawa to Rocky Cape. It's where many members of the Circular Head community, along with the North West Coast, read about the local sports teams' victories, found out about a new business in town, or perhaps saw their own stories printed in black and white for the community to share. As we all do, Mr President, the community oohed and ahed over the photos of the new babies born at the Smithton District Hospital or the North West Regional Hospital, and often watched some of those same babies go on to achieve in sports or school activities. For nearly a century and a quarter, the Chronicle gave us all a window into the lives and concerns of our neighbours in this area. The decline of local newspapers is not just a story unique to Circular Head. It is a trend we're seeing across Australia and globally. Small newspapers struggle to survive in the face of digital disruption, dwindling advertising revenue and changes in the way people consume news. But the impact of these closures is profound. When we lose local newspapers, we lose a dedicated source of local accountability, public disclosure and a sense of place. In these smaller community-centred papers that know us, smaller community-centred papers that know us best. They give voice to the people who may never make headlines on the national stage, but whose stories matter to us right here where we live. For many of us, a local paper like the Circular Head Chronicle does more than just report the news. It creates and preserves community identity. It shone a light on the spotlight of local achievements and provided a trusted source of information, often binding communities together through both celebrations and difficult times. The closure of the Circular Head Chronicle is also a reminder of the importance of supporting independent journalism, especially in regional areas where news coverage is often scarce. Without it, communities can be left vulnerable to information gaps and reduced oversight. I would like to acknowledge, Mr President, the dedicated staff of the Circular Head Chronicle over the years, the journalists, editors, photographers and creative staff, and everyone who poured their passion into this newspaper for so many years. The Chronicle's manager at the time of closing was Janelle McGowan, who started working there in 1999 as, I am told, a very shy trainee in the stationery shop, and by her own admission would go bright red at the thought of having to speak in public or anything that would put her in the spotlight. As is the case with most small organisations, Janelle covered a range of roles. She did an interview on ABC Radio that she had done pretty much every job there except for the actual printing. She remembers each Tuesday having to type up all the sports results that came in on the fax machine and reflect on how much things have changed, noting that things come now by email, everything is now digital and so much faster. She also shared that she did her very first interview in 2018, saying that she was thrown into it because the regular journalist at the time was overseas. The interview was with the then Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who happened to be in Circular Head. Janelle describes being a nervous wreck as she went out to breakfast to interview him, even though he was really nice. She had received some advice on what to ask, but she threw it over to her children for some questions. They wanted to know what was the last movie he had seen. It was Peter Rabbit. And if he had any pets. A very local paper angle indeed. Over the years, Mr President, the Chronicle has seen a number of owners such as Les and Margaret Shearer and Craig and Amanda Sayward, who handed over to Robert or Bob Yates of Yates Media in 2019, and who at the time described local news newspapers as the glue of the community. So it was with sadness and gratitude that Mr Yates, as Managing Director, announced the paper's closure in the last edition, where he said, though this chapter is ending, the spirit of community journalism lives on in each of you. I encourage you to continue supporting local businesses, attending community events and staying engaged in issues that shape the district. It is through these connections that our community will remain strong and united. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your lives. While the newspaper may be closing, the relationships we've built and the memories we've shared will remain. So, Mr President, as we look toward the future, let us remember that a well-informed community is a resilient one. I hope that in time, new forms of local journalism may rise to fill the void the Chronicle has left, and that we as leaders can support the sustainability of local news. The Chronicle, along with the Smith Library, have donated their collection of the old Chronicles to the Circular Head Heritage Centre, where they will be stored in the new archive room. The newspapers date back to the original copy published on Wednesday, July 18, 1906, right through to the present. Mr President, it won't be the same without this local newspaper, and I know many in the community hope to see a local edition return to the Circular Head community despite all the challenges such that regional newspapers face.
Hear, hear.